available to media. And we want media to actually see what's going on in that. Some forward motion of actually committing to protecting people down there rather than just sort of paying lip service and saying, well, we talked to you, we talked to this, and we want them to actually, stand by what they say, protecting the people.
What did you think of the mayor and council's response in the chambers?
Patronizing. I understand that they have business, but I mean, at the same time, these are people's lives that are at stake right there, right now. They're in immediate need. They need home. They need food. They need protection. And that's not being dealt with. I mean, if anything, we've seen, the development downtown increase for a higher income housing market as opposed to the people who have actually been living down there for years and years and just watched it go down the tubes. Their housing is completely inadequate. The SROs that are provided right now, that the city council is trying to get people into with the social workers that are there, people have already said that they don't want to stay there. I mean, they're infested with bed bugs, they're infested with cockroaches and mice, so, I mean, it seems to be a little more cleaner and smart for them to be living in a tent where they're not having to deal with bed bugs, not having to deal with cockroaches or any other kind of infestation that just would drive them even more insane. I mean, that would drive anybody insane. You go home and if that's what you found, you'd do something to clean it up. But if you couldn't do it, you'd end up moving. These guys got no other choice. So their last and final choice is to actually stay in the park. And they want proper housing. They don't want to be, shuffled off to the side with respect to just saying, okay, well, we dealt with you as a small Band-Aid solution to your problem.
And so you said that this is a last choice. So people in the park are not choosing to be there?
People in the park are choosing to be there. They're choosing to be there because they don't find the SRO housing that's made available to them adequate. It's not healthy. They'd much rather stay in the park than go to some kind of SRO housing.
But you think if something else was available that they would want to leave? Leave the park.
Wouldn't anybody? Of course. I mean, that's an obvious question, right? If you had a decent place to go to, then you would. I mean, I think the biggest thing that they're dealing with right now is because of the lack of proper housing facilities for them, they're not able to get away from where they're at right now. I know Vancouver Brain City Housing, or that's what it goes by? Vancouver City Brain City Housing? Brain City Housing. They're dealing with the harm reduction kind of method, which seems to be working in a really good capacity. Previous to their working with their levels, it was a strike 1, 2, or 3, and you're out of this kind of income housing. Now that being challenged with respect to how CMHC is getting out of public housing, that's put an incredible pressure on service-oriented organizations like Vancouver City Brain City Housing and Atira and other organizations that are there to help people, UGM, and they're at full capacity. So there's a need, there's a serious need. And then you're looking at Vancouver Native Housing at the same time, who's, and Luma Native Housing, who still, they've got 2- and 3-year waiting lists for people to actually get housing. So there's a need for housing, there's 10 years waiting list for some, unless you're in total dire, desperate need or you're nepotistically involved with somebody who's a part of these organizations, you're not going to get housing. So, I mean, options are very minimal for a lot of people, and for the rents that they're going to be charging down there, and for a single person who's on welfare, $610, and rent is going to be $600, they got $10 to live on for the rest of the month. So that makes no sense at all. And City Council knows this too, so they need to actually start protecting and start employing, some kind of rent protection or something for the people that are living down there who can afford to actually live off of what's being given them. So either they increase welfare rates or they lower housing accommodations for rental.
What do you want to see come out of these negotiations, and how much hope do you have that what you want will come out of them?
What I want to see is decent housing for people there. I mean, obviously. They need to have a fundamental human right to have a decent life, to have a decent home. And if some of these people, whom a lot of them are that are down there, concurrent disorder, they need help. They need help. They need, medication administered to them, and they need that kind of protection. And so So they need to start working more collaboratively with the people that are actually there, who know how to live down there, who know how to survive, and can express what they need.
There's a lot of money that has been poured into the downtown east side, whether it's through the provincial or through the civic governments. The downtown east side plan changes the way in which Oppenheimer Park is supposed to be developed, or the Oppenheimer district is to be developed. In other words, it limits the strata condos. And it's supposed to be building rental housing. There's a lot of support services that are going in there, and so with all that going in there, what are they doing wrong?
It's not all going into the dealing with